If you're able to do that and start from when you wake up to when you go to bed, I guarantee you guys, you will find just even a 15 minutes, a half hour window in your day that you can possibly look at some schoolwork. Okay. If you can plan everything just right, you'll be able to do that. Okay. It's not easy, but, and it may involve some shifting things around. It may involve you not necessarily having a lunch break where you're just sitting and relaxing. Maybe you're doing some reading for your coursework then, or maybe you're staying up a half hour later. But every time you're able to move time around and shift time around, it will help you, and it will improve your planning as well too. Planning your week. I say this all the time, and I want you guys to think about this too, is if you look at a week, right? You guys, some of you have kids in school, some of you have, all of you pretty much have careers and work. And planning your week is really how you plan everything in our lives. We do it week to week, right? The school week we talk about, you talk about the weekend when people, some people, most people aren't working, some people do work and have odd days off and stuff. Um, some people, I mean, schools tend to look at things week to week, jobs look at things week to week. So the week is really a part of everything, and it helps you plan the term because each week is one unit for us. So with that, it helps you plan everything and help manage your life. So if you can learn how to plan your week, you can plan anything. It builds on your daily planning and spreads it out throughout the week, keeping in mind that not all of your days will be the same, right? So for those of you that work Monday through Friday, your Saturday is going to be very different than your Monday through Friday, right? So there you may have more activities with your family to plan, but you may also have more time to yourself to do work, okay? So it all depends on what your balance is. You also want to use slow times during the week to plan getting. And if you're able to do that sooner rather than later, that will help you be able to be a better planner as far as your schedule, right? Okay. And then if you can replicate building your week-to-week success, will provide you with the greatest opportunity for planning successfully for the term, as I mentioned a couple minutes ago. Okay. And now, when you're thinking of your term, like I mentioned before, I want you guys to start thinking ahead. Okay. Backwards planning for bigger projects, right? That paper we talked about, that's a big project. Backwards planning is something that was used by the military. It's used in higher education and regular public school education. It's used in corporate America. Backward planning is you have an objective or a goal, and then you put the date it's due, and then from there you figure out, here's what I need to do step by step to get there. And you basically find the end goal and you build your path to get there. Okay. So that's what's really important. So you can put a due date for your paper and then add times when you need to do research, put together an outline, come up with a thesis statement, etc. And as I mentioned before, it's very important to start early and leave room for error and unforeseen circumstances, right? You want to make sure you have that built in so that you're able to manage things, okay? Don't forget to take your busy weeks into account. There's midterms and finals, okay? So those weeks tend to be ramped up a bit. So you want to make sure you're not putting too much on yourself during those weeks if you can. And also think about your busy weeks at work, right? If you have a schedule where every 8th week you have to do inventory or something like that, you want to make sure that you're planning your schedule around that. And then, of course, you have social and family events that may take up some of your time, right? Some of you have weddings to go to, you have family events, parties, stuff like that. Make sure that's built into your schedule. That's all important too. Like I said, we don't want to live completely, lives of complete work and everything. We want to have some room for social activities, okay? And I think here's an example of that too. This is a sample calendar I put together, and it's very basic, right? This doesn't use any program or anything like that. This is just an Excel file. But each day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, straight on through Sunday, I started it at 6 a.m. Some of you may start earlier, some of you may start later, but that's when I put here 6 a.m. I ended the day at 12 a.m. And I assume that for the most part, people are looking to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Probably 7 hours, I think, in this case, is what I built in. But you can adjust, of course, as needed. There's things like waking up, working out, breakfast, kids, commute. There's some things that during Monday, Tuesday, your 5 work days of the week or 4 days for those of you that have different jobs. however many days a week you work, those days are going to pretty much be taken up a lot by your commute or your remote. Like me, you have other things going on that you may need to do that keep your continuity there, but work will always be a big part of your days. So you want to make sure you have some time built in there and understand that those days aren't going to have the flexibility that like a Saturday or Sunday might. Okay. Build in time for everything. You see here we have dinner for families. You got family movie night. You've got helping kids with schoolwork. I try to put as much different things in here for people, just to give you an example in terms of what is expected and what's happening, right? I even put church in there. Listen, church is very important for some people, a lot of people here. So we want to make sure you build in time for religious activities, community service, right? I put soccer games. Some of you guys are soccer moms and soccer dads, right? Dinner assignments, but I try to build everything in a way where you have an opportunity still to do your coursework. There's going to be gaps there. You just got to figure out where they are, okay? And I'd like you to notice too that what I did was on this week here, you'll notice that on Monday, I focused on during my lunch break at work, I focused on doing my reading for the course. So in this case, on Monday, I did my lunch and I read from CTC 101 that I needed to do. And then that night, I did the CTC 101 discussion board. Now, why did I do it that night? Because I thought it was a good idea, because now I'm getting ahead. I'm doing that discussion board. And now we're also taking CIS 110. I do my reading assignment for CIS 110 on Tuesday during lunch. And now I do my discussion board for CIS 110 on Tuesday night. So now discussion boards are due Wednesday, but you don't see me noting that on the calendar because I've already done both of them for both my classes. No need, okay? I also, if you fast forward the end of the week, I'm submitting my CTC 101 work on Saturday evening and my CIS 110 work on Saturday evening. So now I don't have to worry about my deadline for Sunday to submit my work because I've changed my schedule so that I'm doing my schoolwork earlier. So now I have that extra couple days built in there. And now instead of scrambling around to do my work on Sunday evening for both classes, I'm reading ahead for my next week for CIS 110 and CTC 101. Because that's typically when stuff shows up is on Sunday night, I think, or Sunday afternoon. I think in my class, it shows up at like 6 o'clock at night on Sunday. So there's an opportunity there for you to start getting ahead for the next week and reading for that next week. So again, you can steal a day or two here and there and really put yourself in good position where you're always at least 2 days ahead of the pace. And that's ultimately, as a student, what you want to do. How important is time management in your schoolwork? How many days you participate in your courses per week may correlate to your likelihood of success. Let's take a look at some data on that. This is average days participated over 3 weeks. In term 4 of 2021, Malcolm Baldrige School of Business had did some research on students to see how many times they engaged per week if there was a correlation between them passing or failing the course. As you can see here, we have the blue indicates the student failed and the orange indicates the student passed. So if a student did not during those first 3 weeks, only did less than 1 day per week of participation and engagement in the course, their likelihood of failure, if you look at that, is probably about a sixth or 6 times or 5 times what it was the likelihood of passing. Okay. Now, if you average 1 time per week, course failure by days a week engaged, now look, all of a sudden you're at about 50-50. You have about a 50% chance of success. Now we go to the next one, 2 days per week on average. Now you've got virtually a 90% chance, or at least 80, I think that is, whatever it is, 80% chance of passing the course. And now as you're doing 3 and more, you've almost got a 100% chance of passing the course here, right? So this is a huge difference, okay? And I want you guys to think about that. Remember some of the cool things that can happen when you start to participate early. First of all, you're not rushing to get work done and miss your deadline. So you don't have to worry about losing points for having late work submitted. The other thing that's important too is you're also submitting better work because you're not cramming to get stuff done, right? So your work is naturally going to be much better quality. You'll have better better skills shown in your work. You kind of relax when you're doing your assignment. And the other thing too is if you make a mistake, okay, go back and do it again. You have time to do that now because you're not cramming everything in on Sunday night. Okay. And this is something else I want to mention. This is kind of a deeper skill. For those of you guys, and you guys have a unique opportunity. That's another reason I wanted to leave this part in for you guys is that you guys have a unique opportunity now that you're off for a term. Think about this and think about what your time management looked like last term. I know at least a few of you probably had some questions with that because I saw in the chat here and in the chat last night that we did for English 110, I saw a lot of people saying, hey, I need help with time management, no joke. And you guys were frank about it. So I think you guys already saw the writing on the wall. But you don't want to just say, I did great, or I'll do better next time. You need to start thinking about what role did it have in terms of the grade you got, right? If you got a bad grade, was it because you ran out of time and submitted stuff late? Were you missing things because you were in a rush or submitting lower quality work? And another thing too is if you got a good grade in the class, that may not mean you're good at time management either. Because were you scrambling around to get it done at the last minute? And could you have done better with that? And were you stressing out other parts of your life because you were doing your work late? I'll tell you what, I've been there. Happened to me. Happened to me in grad school 15 years ago. When I was in grad school getting my master's, absolutely happened to me. Yeah, I was cramming around to get stuff done because I had a lot of other things going on in my life, and it just wasn't easy for me, and it was causing a lot of distress and everything else, and vice versa. So, but once I got it under control, my second semester, second semester there, I did much better from that point on. So, thank you. Appreciate the hand clap. So, how do you improve your time management? You should plan better. Take care of important and sensitive things first, time-sensitive things first. Recognize that some of those things may not be schoolwork, right? Some of you guys may have things happen in your life. You may have sick children. You may have sick parents, as I did last semester. You may have other things happen. You may have a busy week at work. You may have a ton of other things that are overwhelming priorities that are really spilling into your schoolwork. And I want you guys to understand something, that until you get the most important things taken care of, you're not going to be able to get the schoolwork done. So take care of what's in front of you first. Your family comes first, right? And then whatever you got to keep a roof over your heads and keep you guys safe. And then the last thing you should be concerned with after that, just is schoolwork. Schoolwork fits into everything, but it's not everything, right? Okay. So time sensitive and important things first, and assess your schedule. All right. You guys should have things like negotiable events, appointments, social events, doctor's appointments that you can shift around, things like that. Maybe social, maybe something like a movie night with your family. Maybe you don't have to do it the night you have a plan, you can push it forward another night if you got a lot going on with schoolwork. The other thing is think about, again, your non-negotiable events, appointments. What about things like work, things like family, right? There may not be a lot of give there in terms of what you can do to change your schedule around. So just be cognizant of that as you're planning your schedule. And one other thing to consider part-time versus full-time course load to ensure your best chances of success. If you are having to struggle with 2 courses, there's no shame in dropping down to 1 course and going part-time, guys. Just to reiterate that. I don't want you to feel ashamed if you have to do it. Do what you need to do to be successful. That's ultimately what it's about. If you get through the program in half the time, but you end up with a D average, what have you done? You're not going to graduate anyway, right? But if you take your time and go course by course and you get a B+ average for your coursework, that's going to open up so many more doors for you and make you so much better an employee for an organization, or a grad student for those of you guys looking to move on to bigger and better, right? All right. And now the big question I get all the time, well, what do I do if I fall behind, right? First of all, you have to recognize it's going to happen at some point. It has probably happened to most of you. I saw by the hands before, if not all of you, where at some point you just feel like you're behind and you need to catch up. The first thing I'm going to tell you guys is most important is you can't catch up by constantly moving back. So the first thing you should do is, if you're in, what week is this? Week 4. If you're in week 4 and you've been out for the past week because you had a I don't know, family emergency of some sort that kept you out of the loop for a week, Do not say, I'm going to go back and just start doing all that work I missed. You can't do that, right? This is only an 8-week course. So what you should do is you should do what's in front of you, right? So the first thing you should do is take care of the work that's in front of you. So if you have a discussion board that was due last night, put your discussion board in, read your assignment, and then maybe start doing the work for that week. And then reach out to your faculty and say, hey, I'm really sorry I was out last week. Here's what happened. And see if they'll let you know what work you can do or what work you should do and what's most important, right? Because doing the work in front of you, first of all, you don't have to worry about constantly digging yourself out of a hole, because if you go backwards, you're always going to be playing catch up. But if you get it done in front of you, what's in front of you, that's a quick gain, a quick win. And the other thing too is that shows your faculty that, hey, this guy's back in the game or the student's back in the game. I don't have to worry about them right now. They're good. Okay. So remember that. Do what's in front of you first. Reach out to your faculty and your advisor for guidance as soon as you can. Very important. Don't try and go at it alone. Don't wait. Let someone know as soon as possible when you're falling behind. So if you feel like the train's coming off the tracks, it's probably too late already. You should have an idea when you start to not, when you have a family member who's not feeling good. One of the first things you should do is drop a message to your faculty, drop a message to your advisor, let them know what's happening. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be a complete, you don't have to write War and Peace to them to give them an idea of what's happening in your life. All you need to do is just say, hey, I need to let you know I have a family emergency to take care of. I will get them back to my work as soon as possible. I'll let you know and keep you apprised of what's happening. That's all you need to do. Okay, so you don't need to over complicate things. You just need to make people aware of what's happening. All right. That once you do that, I think you'll be in great shape. All right. Okay, so next, don't wait. Or I said that. Okay. Your advisor can let you know of other options in extreme circumstances. So let's say it's towards the end of the course, you just couldn't finish everything. And now the course is over. What do you do? Well, you might be eligible for taking an incomplete grade for a course and finish it later. There's all kinds of things that may be available to you, but you won't know what they are unless you reach out to your advisor and have them tell you what you should do. All right. While we're getting started here, I'm going to check the chat in just a minute. I do want to recognize Jeffrey has had his hand up for a while. Jeffrey Williams, I'm going to go ahead and let you. Actually, you should be able to just take yourself off mute and come off and ask your questions. Go ahead.
I don't have any questions right now. I'm just enjoying the workshop and everything you explained.
Awesome. Oh, great to hear that. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem at all. Great. Very good. Glad to hear that. That's always good. All right. Now I'll check the chat and see what questions we have coming across in the chat. All right. Let's see. You are late. Don't worry. We've recorded this workshop, so you'll see everything. Okay. Good question. How do I add my calendar app on my iPhone? Okay. So this is kind of tough for me to do here. But just so you guys know, it's a perfect time to ask this because we're actually in the process of working on how to set this up on your iPhone, okay? On your iPhone or your Android device. I want to specify that. But the first thing you should do is you'll need to go to the App Store, or what you guys on the Android side of things, I think you call it the Google Store, similar thing, right? Or Google Shop, whatever it is, where you go to get your apps, right? And if you go there and you look up Microsoft Office and you start to look for Outlook, okay? So I'll put that in there. Look for Microsoft Outlook. You do a search for Microsoft Outlook, okay? And then once you go on there, calendar, so it's going to give you the email option. You want to take that'll put that on there for you, right? And then when you do that, you pretty much, it'll ask you your post-university ID. You put in your, not your ID, but it'll ask like your email, your post-university email. Put that information in there and you should be able to then log in, and then it will give you your Microsoft Office account. It will sync with your regular Outlook account, like so. So for example, I don't know if you guys can see this, but what I have here is this very workshop. I'll try and see if I can have you guys see it. It's tough with the background. But yeah, I have this tells me that this is my calendar invite that told me, hey, guess what? You have a workshop coming up in it sends the alert to me in 15-minute increments. So at 6:45, I get a heads up just in case I completely forgot what universe I'm in or what day it is or whatever. I have a workshop coming up tonight, so that sent me my invite for that. And yeah, that's it. And so that alerts you, so then you know what's going on. And then if you want it to recur, so if it's something like, let's say you get up and go to the gym at 6 in the morning every day, you want to make that a recurring event, you do that. You set it so it's a recurring event, however many days you want to do it, and then just knock it out. And then from there, you can plan little parts into your day. For example, maybe like lunchtime at work on Mondays and Tuesdays. Those are going to be the days that you have an hour lunch break, maybe, and maybe you use that time to, while you're eating, to start to do some research for your discussion board, right? So however you break your day down, having your app on your phone and using the phone app for Microsoft Outlook will help you greatly. So I'm going to give you guys another opportunity to ask any questions you may have. Feel free. Give you guys about 30 seconds. If not, that concludes this workshop on time management.